Sarries and Glasgow got through from Pool 3, thoroughly deserved. Not even need to mention Leon, because as you put there on the notes, it's like, if they're not going to play in this tournament, then I'm not going to talk about them.
Yeah.
And that's fair enough.
Yeah.
Cardiff, however, did play a bit of ball, showed some signs, showed some intent, were ultimately soft in, like, Glasgow bullied them.
Yeah, listen, I like Cardiff a lot. They play good rugby, they have some good players. They're certainly not in the top 8 in Europe. They're just a good club level club, club's club, if you will.
And they play their own style. Like, Cardiff rugby has looked very similar for years, and I remember like it's oftentimes that like a half strength Leinster or a Munster team can go down to Cardiff and get caught cold, and there's always a string of class tries in those kinds of games. Yeah. So it's like, they played their hearts out, but they just weren't quite good enough.
No.
Sarries dominated that pool, and look, all good value for it. They have we emphasised the purring aspect to their season now, but they won it bludgeoningly over in Scotstoun before Christmas, and they seized the reins of the group and never let go. And like, even Glasgow coming down, they lost Owen Farrell before kickoff, which is a big loss. Shout out to Alex Good again. What a stalwart for that team, stepping into 10 with Spencer instead of Wigglesworth at 9. And doing a fine job, doing a fine job. Their tactical kicking game was not where it normally is, whereas Glasgow's was very good. But part of that was in the first half, and there was a wind, which wasn't quite as strong as some of the winds we've seen, but on that kind of 4G pitch, it means you don't have to do a lot to get a lot of distance on those touch finders and find some space. Sure. So Glasgow did that well. Stewie Hogg stood up with that. A few nice runs from Hastings as well. Yeah. They made a few mistakes on defence. We had credited their capacity to stay wide, and
that was huge. Yeah, Lewington got himself sucked in.
It was Lewington on the left. Yeah. Lucy Lewington on the left stepped in a few too many times.
Harsh. I don't want to be it was very actually un-Sarries picture. That Seymour try was like not one that you would see Saracens concede every week, because they stay so wide. The holes against Saracens tend to be through the middle. I know they've been trying to adjust that, and perhaps they're giving Boyes license to shoot a bit more.
Maybe,
but certainly the young lad,
he got a bit lost a few times, and should have been expecting, like, if you're doing your homework on that Glasgow team, you should be expecting some flicky wide passes. They were recovering some. There were 25-yard and 30-yard passes going in, and there was space out there. And you don't need to ask Seymour twice to go through it.
No,
you do need to. You'd have to ask him a few more times if he wanted to step up into Itoje and Mako Vunipola simultaneously, because that did not go well for him. And that was absolutely hilarious moment where he just ran in, found no gap, but found two of the biggest men on the pitch, and just went straight down. And Itoje just came up with the ball, and off he went. And he just every play that Itoje made, particularly in the second half, just turned to gold. And the try that he ended up getting, the bonus point score, it was a shame for their prop
Kabul, is it?
No, the other one, it's a Polynesian name that I can't pronounce now. You may have to find it there. But he played like 70 plus minutes, which is more of a shift than your tight head prop really ought to be doing. And then in that particular set, having defended them so well and still being in the game, he just could not fold around the corner, couldn't get himself into the defensive line. He was completely gone, gassed, and then they went around, and he was the gap, because he had nothing left. Poor lad. I felt bad for him, but it was also just a marauding Itoje getting an offload from that giant of a man, off the bench, that Australian Will Skelton coming off the bench.
He's some player
to be bringing in. Like, Sarries look really, really good. And felt a little for Glasgow, but they did fire their shots. They played really well, I thought.
I missed the second half of that game, but I caught the first half and things were motoring. And,
there were 6 tries in the first half. The second half was a different look to it, but it was equally entertaining. Both sides kind of slowed down a bit, but they were defending well for great lengths of time. And it was ultimately, I think it was actually Wigglesworth I would credit with being the difference maker, along with some of the pack substitutes that just... They had more to them than what Glasgow had.
By the way, would be the
Halanukin.
I'm sure I'm butchering it, but that's the name of the
and he played really, really well. He had some classy touches in the first half, was scrumming well as well, and it was just it came to 70 minutes and he had to defend in the wide channels, and it's just like, no, that's not going to happen at all. And Itoje's going to roam round in for a try. But that was an excellent game. And a really good picture, and they'll do it. We'll wind it back again for the third time. We will have Sarries Glasgow going at it in the quarters.
Yeah,
and it's like harsh on Glasgow.
It is harsh on Glasgow because it's a terrible matchup for them. I mean, most teams match up poorly against Saracens, but them in particular.
Yeah.
Because usually the way Saracens defend doesn't suit their attack.
Yeah.
And then
their halfbacks are superior, which that was what it felt pulled it closer. Like I was fearing a shutout. That last week I was calling Sarries to do pretty much what they did, ball in hand, score 5 tries, but I thought that they'd limit Glasgow to maybe 1 or 2. I think the difference maker there, the Farrell going down pre-kick-off, a little bit looser
because their solution to it was, rather than throw Lozowski in, was to move Good from fullback and then move Liam Williams from the left wing to fullback, and then bring in Lewington. That was such choppy, changing stuff that it ended up leaving their defence leaking some stuff. They also opted for Tompkins at outside centre, who's very good with ball in hand, but he's a young man. I suspect when
it was Barrett leading the line. He did a great job. Barrett played phenomenal. He was very close. He would have been man of the match had it not been for Itoji's class performance, and he was deserving of it. But Barrett controls those inside channels and shut them out. Meant that Gu didn't have to do much defensively. But the space was out over the top of him at the back.
Like, imagine now if it comes to it when they play Glasgow, if everyone's fit, you're talking about Farrell and Wigglesworth back at the helm, Barrett and Lozowski probably in the centres, 2 big men. And then good at fullback, Williams and Maitland on the 2 wings. Like, I don't think they're getting through that at all.
No.
The Glasgow attack, I think, it's a bad matchup for them. Saracens are very good. They've done a good job. I'm happy with them this year. They last year they had
they dropped the ball in
they
the
had
pool.
Clermont,
which is always, as we know, can be a spanner in the works as far as your points accrued during the group stage.
There's also Raka on fire, both home and away. I think Clermont were just cutting loose against Sarries, and they just managed to sneak in at the end there, but this year they've been utterly in control from that first game, which, as you highlighted last week and this week, that it was very important. It was a huge game. It's funny, you look at some games that are happening in the week that's coming and you talk about them as big games, but then there are certain games that you look back on and you realise how big they were.
Yes, indeed.
And that's one of them, that 13-3 win over in Scotstoun when Glasgow played brilliantly.
They did.
They never looked back.
And just psychologically what that must do to a Glasgow team at home, playing really, really well on a season purring along. They met Sarries in the mood and they could only score 3 points. And they attacked pretty well, but they could only score 3 points, and they couldn't stop them creeping away. And that even the losing bonus point, which is where they were consigned for the last 20 minutes of it, was just like, you can get a 3-pointer, and no, they couldn't. And it's like that's very telling about the difference between these sides. So as much as this was an impressive performance, they still fell short, and it was still Sarries shorn of 2 key leaders in their halfbacks and a bit of a chop and change backline as well. So I suspect that particular quarter final may go the same way again. It'll be a Sarries hat-trick, and they look good value for it, and they'll be home in the semi, and they'd be favourites in that one too, no matter who they're playing.
Play it well. I'm not sure if they could get the rent space, what with Tottenham playing there every week, but they might try and get Wembley for that game if they do get it. That's looking very far ahead. But the semi-final, but they might look at Wembley.
Might do. Yeah.
That'd be nice.
It would be a good little gesture. Also, I'm correct me if I'm wrong, but if they are to lose, or if Racing are to lose to Toulouse, then it's no longer the system that Toulouse, then if it was Racing, say, which I think is the more likely fixture to end up that way. If Toulouse were to beat Racing,
they don't get a home.
They don't get a home quarter final because it goes to then who has the next.
It's
amount
done
of points
based on your seeding 1 to 8. So there's no way that a team seeded 2 is going to play a team seeded beneath 2 away from home, if that makes sense.
Right.
Or a better way to describe it is the NFL system of playoffs. Like, it doesn't matter what's come before, the team with the better record gets the home field advantage.
Okay.
That's it.
Well, then it could really do with Toulouse winning that game.
That'll be, if Toulouse beat Racing in Paris and we beat Ulster in Dublin, we host Toulouse. If Racing win that game, Racing host us in Paris. So,
or would we host Toulouse? We'd probably host someone else, because if Glasgow or Toulouse, if Toulouse would be the bottom ranked team left, they would probably.
The draw is set. The draw is set. It's just we're playing the winner of the Racing Toulouse game, but that game is either going to be played in Dublin or in Paris. Or if both of us lose, Toulouse will have the advantage over Ulster.
I think so. Yes. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. No, I just wanted to clear that up because I didn't quite know how to say. I know it's changed this season, but Excellent. Yeah, good to know. And it just means, Sarries have paved, with their controlling influence over the group, have kind of just carved out a route to the final that is far more agreeable than what they did last year, which they took learnings from, because they were competitive in that game in Dublin, more so than most teams that come to Dublin, and they still couldn't quite get it done. So there's no reason to repeat that.
No, there are problems with that system in the sense that like the pools aren't even. So definitely, if you get a cushy,
if you get a Leon in your group,
if you get an easy enough pool draw that you're not going to lose any games, it gives you a massive advantage. It gives you home field to the final. So it can be looked at, but I guess no matter what system you do, there's always going to be a trade-off somewhere.
Sure, it feels like having it be a meritocracy ultimately, though, seems right.
But is it a meritocracy when some teams have Toulouse and other teams have Glasgow?
The bitching in the moment.
No, that's not. I'm only messing really. Thanks for watching the Overlap Rugby podcast. If you want to subscribe, there should be a button up here. Don't forget to give us a like and share with your friends, and please leave comments down below. We love the conversation. Thanks.